back to your third video in Module 2, which is Get Confident. Today we're talking about a big key to your confidence, which is your female role model's body story. We are going to get into the stories that you've been telling yourself since you were a kid about your body, where they came from, how they came up, and how to get them out of the way and prove them untrue, because that is no longer your story, it's no longer your reality. So, first thing I want you to do is get that pen, get the journal, get your paper, because we're going to be writing a lot today, especially in this exercise. So these women, these female role models that you had growing up, you built your beliefs based off of their beliefs, their stories. And I can guarantee you that how you feel about your body right now, how you feel about weight, how you feel about how easy or hard it is to lose weight is just a matter of a compilation of all the women and men that you looked up to in your life that have told you something about yourself or about themselves. And we're gonna get into the male role model or men in your life story. And that's for video 4, that's our next video. So right now we're just solely focused on the women in your life. So these can be anybody, like this can be your mom. For a lot of women, it's your mom. It could also be a sister. It could be a cousin, an aunt. It could be a grandma. It could be somebody who's not even related to you that you don't even know, like a celebrity that you just loved when you were growing up. So I want you to look back into like your childhood and your teenage years specifically. Who were the women that you looked up to the most? Like the women that you were like, oh my gosh, she's so amazing, I would love to be like her, or I love everything about her. These, like, if it's I'm sure you have celebrities that you looked up to too when you were younger. So I want you to make sure that you pick at least one person that's like a celebrity or somebody that you don't actually know but you've always looked up to. And then pick to another person who you directly know, and then one person that can be either. So I want you to pick the three main ones where you were like, oh my gosh, I love her and I love everything she does, or I love her, how she looks. You're just picking somebody who you totally have looked up to in the past. And think about even things like this, even like other girls at school, like when you were growing up. If you looked up to certain girls and you were like, man, I just wish I was more like her, or whatever the story was that you told yourself. So focus in on her. So let's get our first question written down. So who were the main 3 women that you looked up to as you grew up? Specifically childhood or teenage years. Top 3. Who were those women? So pause me, write it down, and then come back for our next question. The next question is just a variation on the last one we did, also super important to write down. Who are the women who were the most impactful on your view of your body? Who were they? The view that they had on your body, your weight, like the way you look at yourself now, who were they? Who were these 3 people? Pause me and then we'll come back to the next question. Okay, what were the main things that they would say about their bodies and about weight? That's a good question, right? This is gonna get deep. So what were the main things that you always heard this person saying? If it was like somebody you were around all the time, like a mom or a sister, you know, what did you hear them constantly saying about their weight? What did you hear them constantly saying about how their body looked? Or if it's like a celebrity or somebody that you didn't know that well but just really looked up to, what were they constantly thinking? And I want to put this out there too, that your body beliefs are a compilation of multiple people's thoughts about their bodies. But I remember when I was younger, the celebrities that were really popular that were like female influences were people like Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera. And although I never heard them talk about their bodies or their weight or anything like that, I compiled a mix of what I had heard other people say about their bodies that were close to me, and imagined that this person, like, so say like a person, or I'm trying to think about what somebody would have said around me when I was younger. Yeah, I remember people saying things like, carbs make you fat, or like, don't eat that, it'll make you fat, things like that. So if, say, carbs make you fat was a thing that was really like prevalent in my mind, then I would probably look at Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera and be like, oh, they must not eat carbs. And I made up this combo story. See how that works? Like a combined, like the people that were in my life that were talking about these things, and then people that I looked up to that were not, I never even heard them talk about this stuff, but I would imagine that they must think this. So you start to build these stories, these big, intense stories that aren't even true. They're not even real. So I just want you to see that they could be a combo. So then I'm going to move on to our next question, which is related to the last one. What were the main stories that these people, these women in your life would repeat about their bodies and their weight? What would they repeat about themselves? What did you hear them say many times? You hear somebody say like, oh, I wish my butt weren't so fat, or I wish my arms weren't so like jiggly, or what did you hear people say? Did you hear them talk about food a lot and just say like, oh, I can't eat that, that'll make me fat, or like blah, 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 blah. These are all stories. I need you to know that these are false and fake, and they're things that we believe so strongly that our bodies believe it, and our bodies start to take that on, but you get to move that out of the way, and that's no longer your belief anymore. Your body is healthy, it works really well, and you can eat things like carbs, and you can feel incredible and look the best that you've ever looked. It's just a matter of what you're telling your mind. And so write that down, and we're going to move on to our next question. So how has it affected your view of your own bodies? These thoughts and beliefs and stories that you heard these women that you looked up to tell themselves and say to you, you know, how has that affected your view of your own body? So write that down. And in this one, I really want you to focus in too, because sometimes people had female role models that would just talk about their own bodies, and you would take on that mindset from them because you just looked up to them and you're like, they're so cool, like I want to be like them. So you'd start thinking like them and acting like them. Then the other thing is that sometimes they say it directly to you. Like sometimes they said like, ooh, you should lose a little bit of weight, or you're getting a little bit chunky right now, or maybe don't eat that at dinner tonight, that could make you fat. Like if you heard people saying that directly to you, it's the same concept, and it affects you on a deep soul level, and you start to believe this because this is a person you looked up to. This is a person who you held high in your mind, and they're telling you that you're not enough or you're not good enough. And that's affecting how you see something. So you really believe what they're telling you, like, oh, I am getting a little chunky, or oh, I shouldn't eat that tonight because that might make me fat. So I want these things to come up. I want them to come up because they're going to come up and come out, and we're going to move them out of the way because they're going to be proved untrue. This is no longer your belief. This is no longer your life. This is no longer how you need to feel about yourself. You get to feel good about yourself all the time. You don't need to beat yourself up. You don't need to have shame or guilt or fear. And this might bring up a little bit of feelings, like you might feel resentful or angry towards somebody who had these beliefs and you took these beliefs on. You might get mad at them, and you might feel like, I can't believe that I feel it. I've lived my whole life feeling this way about myself. It's not even true, and I did it because you said it. But it's very important to know that we have to take responsibility for our own selves. So there's no growth that comes in blame. There's no growth that comes in placing blame on somebody else for how you are, how you feel. You have to take responsibility and know, like, I may not have known better as a child, but when I heard these things, I created a story, and I allowed myself to feel hurt when somebody said I shouldn't eat that. Or here's my thing from when I was a kid. This just popped up in my mind. So I was taller than all the other girls in school, and I thought taller meant bigger, and everybody treated me like I was bigger. So I started imagining that I was fat. Started thinking that I was like overweight. And when I was on all the sports teams, I would always get the size large, and all the other girls would get these like size small shirts. And I just started thinking that I was like really big and really like fat for my age, and I just started believing this. I started telling myself this story over and over and over. And it was funny because as I got into my like early 20s, I remember people, if somebody would say I was like small or skinny or tiny, it was like the whole world was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I would feel so good because I felt so big all of my life just from that mindset. I want you to see that I took responsibility for this after I realized what was going on. I took responsibility that I made myself feel big. I made myself feel fat because I told a story that if you have a size large shirt, then you're big. And I allowed that to define me. And I allowed that to, be a reason why I did gain weight, because your mind is like, if you keep telling me this story, I'm going to prove it true. If you keep telling me I'm big, if you keep telling me I'm overweight, then I'm going to be big and overweight. So if you really believe it about yourself, you're going to prove it true. So I proved it true for myself. I gained a lot of weight. I gained quite a bit and kept it there and couldn't seem to get it off because I had this belief, this deep-seated belief that I was big. And so I just want you to see how this works, how this plays out, how these stories become so real even though they're so fake, so false. And I could have easily looked back on that and gotten really mad and just been like, angry about how that happened. But I said, no, I'm here for growth, I'm here for progression, and I'm here to move forward in my life. So I'm going to take responsibility and just say, I allowed myself to feel that way. I allowed myself to tell that story. And I like to do this too. Please take this on for yourself. Look at yourself as a little kid and think about how cute you were. Instead of feeling shame or guilt or judgment or fear or resentment or any of these bad feelings, just allow yourself to be like, that's really cute. So I look back on it and I go, that's really cute that I was a little kid and I just decided that because I always got the size large shirt that I was big. How cute, like what a cute little thing to think. And then it allows it to be lighter and easier and happier, and then I can move through it and I can be like, that's not true anymore. That's like, I just laugh about it because I'm like, that's so false. But look at how that defined me for almost the majority of my young adult life. I allowed that to define me and I allowed it to seep into everything I was doing. So if I was like on a date with somebody and they did something that made me feel large, I would like just be like, wah, and I'd get all up in my head and I'd get scared and nervous and I'd allow it to affect that relationship and be insecure, and the person probably wouldn't be attracted to me because I was being so insecure and they had no idea why, but it was because I was all up in my head. And I can apply this to work, my work life, I can apply this to my financial life, all these different things. It seeped into everything. So this is so important for you. This is so important to get to the bottom of and write this down. Okay, next question. What would you have to say or think or believe for these stories to become untrue? What would you have to do? You can use my little kid thing and you could look at yourself and say, that's so cute. Or you could look at that person who taught you that bad behavior and you could say, oh, that's so cute of them that they thought that. That's so cute of me that I believed it. That's okay. Or you can move through this in a different way. I want you to write down how you're going to move through it, how you are going to process this and prove it untrue. Because all the things you wrote down, all those body beliefs, all those things that you think so strongly about yourself, we need to prove them untrue. And if there's any other things that come up, I want to ask you another like key question here is like, what do you believe about your body and what do you believe about your weight? Everything. No matter how silly or out there or weird it is, I want you to write that down. I want to know what that is. What is your belief system? Like, what do you feel about your body and your weight? Do you feel like it's really hard? Do you feel like it's really like unbeautiful body? Do you feel like it's hard to lose weight? Do you feel, what are the things that you believe to be your truths? What are the things that are coming up? You should be writing some of them down from last week still, but I want you to write this down again. And then I want you to write how you can prove that untrue. What would you need to think, say, believe for that to become untrue for you? So, final thing is that it's time to create some new glitter litter. You remember glitter litter from our last module. Glitter litter is the thoughts that litter your mind, and we want all the thoughts that litter your mind normally that are shameful, guilty, judgmental, critical, that were brought up in this exercise to become glittery and beautiful. So we're gonna make this glitter litter just shine. So I want you to start writing down a list of as many things as you can take. The things that you wrote down on this piece of paper, I want you to take it and I want you to flip it. So if you wrote down, I believed that I was large, then I want your glitter litter to be, I believe that I'm beautiful and I'm the perfect size. I love the size of my body. That's your new glitter litter. So I want you to do that with each one. And I want you to be repeating this constantly. And like I said in the first video, you're gonna be repeating these. There's 2 times that are the very most important that you cannot skip during the day to say this, which is first thing when you wake up, so that you start your day on a positive momentum. And then right before you go to bed, because that's gonna like go into your subconscious mind while you sleep, and then you wake up. So super important to do it then, but do it all throughout the day, as much as you possibly can. Like, you're about to do the dishes, read your glitter litter. About to put on your makeup, read your glitter litter. About driving in the car or waiting for somebody, not while you're driving, but once you park, or if you're waiting for somebody to come in, or you're going to a doctor's appointment or something like that, read your glitter litter. Read it as much as you possibly can, because the more you do it, the more you believe it to be true. And it's one of those super powerful things that might feel weird at first, but the more you do it, you'll believe it. And then once you believe it, it becomes your new reality, and you start to see everything around you start to change. All these new opportunities come up, weight starts to come off really easy, it becomes fun, and you're gonna love it. So again, you can put a bridge in here if you need to. So instead of saying, like, if it felt really, really like crazy, silly, and untrue for me to say to myself, I'm the perfect size, or I love my body exactly how it is, or I love the size of my body, if that felt really weird for me, I'd put a bridge in there and say, I believe it's possible that I can love the size of my body. And then I'd say that enough times that I believe it to be true. And then I'd drop the bridge and I'd say, I love the size of my body. And then I'd start repeating that until it's like, I just like fully believe it, like hardcore, 100%. So that was our video on our female role model's body story. Let's move on to the male role model's body story in the next video. I'll see you over there, and make sure you post on the Facebook page with the biggest insights you got from today's video.